Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to this week's episode of Everyone's a Little Queer. Before we start, today's conversation with Arden goes extensively into their struggles with mental health. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, trans mental health, or suicidal thoughts, please reach out to a mental health crisis line, the Trans Lifeline, or for suicidal thoughts, the suicidal hotline anywhere in the U.S. by dialing 988. Click the links in our show notes for other helpful websites. Discretion is advised, and as always, enjoy the episode. Welcome to this week's episode of Everyone's a Little Queer. We have a special guest with us today. They are a writer of fantasy novels focused on mental health, gender and sexuality, identity. They have a new book, Echoes of Us, dropping this summer, I believe, in June?
Yep, you got it.
See, I'm so good at these things. We have Arden Coutts, like Boots, with us, joining us. Arden, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on the pod.
Absolutely, yeah. As my husband would tell everyone very enthusiastically, he is a reader this year. He's big into reading this year, and I love that because I love to read. And who knew, though, it just had to be gay novels would get him into it. He found a couple, and now he's hooked, and it's wonderful.
I fully feel that. I think I was in like a reading slump for, I don't know, is it a slump or like a hiatus if it's like longer than like 5 years? I don't know. It was a while.
Some slumps just are a little longer than others.
But then I found romance and I was like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I have read so many. I love gay novels like that. I just think queer novels, the way they're wrote, are so passionate and so just
Yes.
hot. And so I have my husband from our honeymoon on has always bought me a new queer book, and I've loved every minute of it. And then it just leads to all these other books, but you read some of these like, oh damn, okay.
Yeah. Some of them are pretty spicy, but I'm in my hockey romance era because of Heated Rivalry, of
Oh,
course. So
absolutely.
it,
Yes.
it sucked me in, and then I read some of the other books in the series, and now I'm reading some, I guess, straight hockey romance, which is I'm a little like kind of taken aback by the language. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is kind of crass."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I was like clutching my pearls.
Yeah. Oh, I do declare.
Yeah. But
I
I was like,
love
"Why
it.
am I so like?" But yeah, it was weird because like reading Heated Rivalry, which is like all sex all the time.
Yes.
I was like, "Yes, yes, 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 let's go." And then there's like all this mental health rep and stuff, and The Long Game, which was devastating. I highly recommend reading that one. And then I shifted over to the straight hockey romance, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is this?"
You're like, oh, I didn't know these things happen that way.
Yeah, I was just like, flabbergasted.
Oh, I know. And I mean, taken around the world by storm is Heated Rivalry. Gay
Oh
hockey
yeah.
is. Who knew gay hockey was a thing and so much of a needed thing in 2026?
We were, I think everyone was dying for something to rally behind, and Heated Rivalry came out when everyone was like, yes, this
Yeah.
is it. It's been chosen.
Absolutely. Well, we are here, as much as we love Heated Rivalry, we are here to talk about and meet the author of Echoes of Us, Arden. So, Arden, now you are here on a queer podcast, you yourself in the spectrum of the LGBTQ. IA plus and all of us. You are trans, and how did your trans journey start? Where did that start for you?
My gosh, it was quite the journey. um, it took me a long time to figure out kind of where I fit in, I guess.
Okay.
Because I grew up in really rural Nebraska, which is I moved back to my hometown recently, which has been its own journey. But grew up like out in the country, just feeling very alone and isolated and different. But this was like late 80s, early 90s, and there wasn't a lot of language.
Yeah.
And also it's Nebraska. So
Sure.
there was like no language at all. And so I didn't know how to describe that feeling of being different. But I think it was in like high school and early college. I was like, oh, maybe I'm bi. And then I was like,
Okay.
maybe I'm pan. And then maybe I was like, oh no, maybe I'm this and that. And I kind of went through the whole LGBTQ.
Yeah. You were just taste testing all the letters and
Yeah, and it wasn't until I was like 30, my gosh, 32, I think. I'm 39 now, and I got into therapy for the first time.
Okay.
And I remember sitting there going, okay, because my therapist and I were talking about how, like, my depression wasn't getting any better and, like, I was still struggling, and it was time to kind of explore maybe, like, medication or, like, different things, and, like, why was I still so, like, down? And I was like, "I know why," but I was so scared to say it, and so I was like, "Okay, the last 5 minutes of therapy, I'm gonna drop this bomb on my therapist, and then I'm gonna
I
skedaddle."
yeah,
And so I was like, "I know why I'm so sad," and I'm, like, sobbing, 'cause it was just, like, terrifying to say it out loud for the first time to someone,
yeah.
and I was like, "I'm trans, I'm in the wrong body, I am so sad because I will never be in, like, the right body or be myself in the way that I want to be," and it's just, like, devastating, and I was just, like, sobbing, and my therapist was like, "Oh my god, we have to talk about this," and I was like, "Okay, I'll see you in a couple
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah.
bye," and, like,
Yeah.
left, but that was the first time I, like, fully kind of realized, I think, that I was trans, so it was scary.
So, because we hear a lot of people that are trans talk about that feeling of not being themselves in the body that they see. I mean, for those of us who are not trans, that we don't have that, and that is a huge mental health toll on you. Seeing every day, waking up, not seeing yourself outside as you see yourself inside. What does that feel like? What are you feeling when, or were you feeling? Because we've obviously started, we transition, we're happy, we're where we need to be. But
Mm.
what was that feeling like waking up every day?
I don't even know if I have the words to describe it. It's like you don't belong to yourself.
Okay.
Is maybe the best way to say it. Like, I've had top surgery, and I remember, like, doing some research and reading, and a lot of people will experience, like, a sense of loss after top surgery,
Mm.
and because they're removing a part of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I was just elated. Like, I was just ecstatic because I had never felt like my breasts had belonged to
Yeah.
me or were like a part of me. And
Right.
so I think that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's just like you don't feel like fully a part of your own body.
That's yeah, that's and I couldn't imagine waking up every day thinking that or just not even thinking it, but just feeling not myself.
Yeah. Or like looking in the mirror and just being like epically disappointed, which and like devastated. And I still go through that, like that,
Yeah.
just feeling like I'm not where I want to be or and I'm not who I want to be. Well, no, that's a bad way to describe it because I
Yeah.
am who I want to be
Yeah.
as a person.
Yeah.
But, like, my exterior doesn't match my interior, so
And is that
it's
something you still think about or
oh, yeah. I still
yeah.
think about it quite a bit, but there's steps that have helped me kind of feel more comfortable, I guess, or
Okay.
more myself,
Yeah.
and that's been, doing the top surgery, starting testosterone made a huge difference because I can, like, grow a little bit of facial hair, it's not great, but, like,
Yeah.
it's there sometimes, and I'm like, "Oh." I'm making slow progress towards that exterior matching the interior.
And that in and of itself is just a journey as well. I mean, when you
Mhm.
start this journey of your transition, into a trans man, or for those who are, male to female into a trans woman, it's a journey in of itself. It's a journey to get there to recognize, as you said, you were in therapy last 5 minutes. I haven't already gone through all the letters and tasted tested everything on
Mm,
the queer spectrum and go, oh shit, I'm trans.
yeah,
And so that journey to just get to that point was a journey of itself. And now you start your journey in transition and it's not an overnight thing. It's not
mm,
it takes time. It takes money, it takes time and
yeah,
patience with yourself and those around you to fully transition or even start it.
yeah, and it's very I think for me personally, I stopped my transition when I knew I was gonna move back to Nebraska because I was like, "Oh, is it gonna
Okay.
be safe there for me? Is it going to even be possible for me to get the medical assistance that I need in Nebraska where I'm located? Because there's, like, nothing around us.
Yeah.
And are there gonna be doctors in these rural clinics that are gonna be willing to, like, help me?" So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna get home and kinda get settled and then start re-exploring transitioning and make sure that it's like I said, my big thing was, like, safety. I wanted to make sure I was gonna be safe in the town that I'm living in and feel comfortable here. as I transitioned, which,
Yeah.
it's a little on the fence, I guess, but
And that's something that I don't think, I mean, to be honest with you, even my husband and I, like, the most part we would have to think about is like, okay, is it a queer friendly area? Maybe
mm,
not, but like we're two cis men and that's, how we are. That is not something that we think about, and definitely not something that like a heterosexual couple would ever think about moving across the country or moving across the world is it safe for me to just exist?
yeah, and it's on my mind constantly because I also think about, like, well, where's my next move? Because I don't plan to stay in Nebraska forever,
Mhm.
and so I'm like, "Okay, well, where am I moving next? Is it a blue state? Is it a red
Yeah.
state that has great queer communities within the state? Is it a different country?"
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I've because I do want to I am continuing my transition, and I'm getting back on testosterone, and I want to feel as comfortable as I am able to
Yeah.
in a place that I want to, like, make my life. So, that's a big thing for me to consider as I kinda think about my next moves.
Absolutely. And so you moved back home to Lincoln in did your therapist prior to you moving back west, is that somebody you still talk with? Are you able to still talk with that person?
Oh, oh, my therapist.
No.
I love Gina. She
Yeah.
actually gets a shout out in the acknowledgement of Echoes of Us, and she's glorious. We still, like, correspond via email, which is
Yeah.
wonderful because I can just kinda give her, like, brief updates, and she's like,
Sure.
"Oh, it sounds like you're doing pretty well,"
Oh,
and so
wonderful.
but I've found some good therapists here in Nebraska, and, like, I live Lincoln is, like, the closest big city to
Uh-huh.
me, but it's, like, 5 hours away from where I live.
Shit. You
So,
are
like, if I need, like and Omaha is, like, 5.5, but, like, I get my medical care in Omaha, so if I go for, like to get my levels tested for testosterone and stuff like that, like, sometimes I have to drive the 5 plus hours to Omaha just for, like, a 30-minute visit.
holy shit. Well, that's
So
something I would have never, yeah, that I mean, it makes sense, but
yeah, so I'm, like, in, like, really rural. There's, like, cows and corn here, and that's about
yeah.
it.
Absolutely. So when you move back, you're close to family. How does
Mhm.
your family reacted to, being it's interesting being in a red state because we've had some trans people on the podcast before and it's been overall supportive, but most of them are all from kind of a blue purple area where it's
Yeah,
like, okay, here you are, but I mean being up in literally the middle of nothing.
yeah.
That's a very more conservative culture just in general, correct?
It is, and I get a lot of, like, "Oh, I've never met someone like you before," like, kind of
A
phrases
man?
like that, and I'm like, "Okay,
You
hi, we
yeah.
exist." But, family-wise, it's been a mixed bag. I think my mom tries to be supportive, is trying, which is great.
Yeah.
That's more than I'm like, "That's wonderful that you're trying. I really appreciate it."
Mhm.
Um, but I think she's probably more confused by everything.
Okay.
Like, she's like, "I'm trying to understand, but I just don't get it." And I'm like, "Okay." Like,
I
well
think I think there's something to say. I love the optimism there that you have with
mhm,
that, where it's like, yeah, she is. She's trying, but also on the inverse of that, I don't need you to get it because I
yeah.
get it. You know,
Yes.
and that's it. I get it. This is me. It's not for you to understand. This is not I'm not a puzzle. I'm not a riddle. The New York Times word search, you're not going to find it on me. This is just who I am. And I think that's funny when you said, "Oh, people say I've never met somebody like you." A man? You've never met a man? Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
that's how I would respond to that, but I'm also just kind of a snarky asshole at times, so
Well, and I'm like a people pleaser, so I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, how can I not make you uncomfortable?" Like,
yeah,
I wanna
I
make
get
sure
that.
that you're comfortable around me, and it's a terrible like, it's honestly a terrible way to be, and I'm working on, like I don't wanna say being meaner, but, like, just having more of a presence
Yes.
and being confident and, just being me because I've toned myself down a lot around other people because 'cause I'm like, Oh, I don't wanna be perceived.
Yeah. Well, you mean the queer community in general, your part of this queer community, the trans community, is so vilified already that
Mm,
if I imagine that if you were to truly, and I get it, stand up for yourself in a way that comes any sort of perception probably as that person is being a bit of a bitch,
yeah.
that's they're going to be their view of the trans community, and you yourself just existing are an advocate for the trans community constantly, and that it got to be exhausting, to constantly be on your toes about that and protecting not just yourself but any other trans person down the line that these people may come in contact with.
Yeah, well, and I lived with my younger brother when I first moved home, that was an experience because in his mind, all trans people are like cross dressers and
Okay.
like yell at you for misgendering them or using the wrong pronouns and
Gotta
are
love
like just
Fox
terrible
News.
people. And I'm just like, oh my God, like what? Where's this coming from? Like why do you have this perception of people? Like,
It's a narrative. It's a narrative that they have been told that they believe is
mm,
true because as you've learned and as we've learned here just 5 minutes ago, the I've never met somebody like you before. They haven't. And so they only go based upon what they see or are told how these people react to you and how they are going to, come after you if you don't use the right pronouns. Oh,
mhm,
okay, whatever. But if you go out of your way to misgender somebody,
yeah,
clearly that looks like a man, and you come up to them and say, ma'am, or, madam, or whatever, you're just
mhm,
being a dick to be a dick.
exactly.
Then somebody might say something, but also, like, don't be a dick.
Exactly. Yeah, just don't be a dick.
Yeah,
Words to live by,
I know.
honestly.
You would think so, right? So you say your mom is, kind of coming around, and your father has passed away. Did he
Mm.
know you as you transitioned to Arden, or?
No. He passed away when I was 21 or
Oh,
22,
okay.
and had no idea that I was, like, queer in any way,
Mm,
because I was kind of, keeping everything on the down low,
yeah.
from family back then. Yeah, so no, he never got the opportunity to meet Arden.
Now, do you have a feeling that how he would have reacted, or would he kind of be like your mom, accepting but still trying to put the puzzle together?
I honestly don't think he would have taken it well.
Okay. Being that very more conservative viewship.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely more conservative, very not to, like, stereotype or
Yeah.
generalize, but, like, ex-military, very, like, "This is the world, this is how it is," kind of red.
As a more of a singular view of
Yes.
how things should be.
Yes, yeah, so it was very I just yeah, I don't think he would've taken it well. I like to believe he would've come around eventually, but I don't
Yeah.
know, it's really hard to know.
Yeah. No, I get that. When you have, like, when I officially came out to my parents, it was after I was married. I was married to a woman for 5 years. We were together for about 10. I mean, my first experience with anything sexually or in a romantic style way was with a boy when I was like 12 years old,
Mhm,
and then with women. And so it was like a back and forth. I always knew, and kind of, again, like you said, we didn't really have a term for it when I was growing up. We do now, bisexual. That's where
mhm,
I fall in the line. And so when I came out, I remember coming out to my dad, and he just was like, and we don't talk at all. Like, we're not close at all. It was just more of his sister, my aunt and I are very close. And
mm,
it was more of a warning, if you would, of like, if you come over for like a dinner at my aunt's house, I might have a man with me that I'm dating.
yeah,
And he just was like staring at me and then goes, "Yeah, your stepmom and I always thought you were gay." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gay,
yeah,
bisexual." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks." As if I did him a favor. I was like,
yeah,
"Okay,
you're like, "Cool, great
yeah."
talk."
I was like, "Anyways, so this is your house, bye."
Yeah, that was kind of my gosh, I think it was late high school, early college. I came out to my mom and older sister as bisexual,
Mhm.
and it was awkward as all hell.
How did that go? I gotta know. I love
I
awkward.
it was kinda similar, like, my mom was kinda like, "Okay." And then she's
Yeah.
like, "I don't understand," because my mother very much likes to make things about herself, so she's like, "What did I do?" She has said this before, she likes to say, "What did I do as a parent to make you this way?" And I'm like, "That's not how it works."
Oh,
Like
birthed me.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's not, because she wants
Yeah,
to, like, blame herself for my queerness or something, and I'm like,
sure.
and then my older sister made a comment of, she hoped that I, wouldn't hit on her, and I was like,
On your sister?
yeah, and I go, "Well, you're my sister to
What?
start with, and second, you're not my type, so don't worry."
Oh my
But it was just like,
god.
I think it was like neither of them had any understanding of what like bisexual meant. And
Yeah,
to them, it was just like, you're something other.
yeah. I think that's a lot we see with people who don't know the queer community or a little bit uneducated in the queer community.
Mm,
And just a little education goes a long way. And when we
mm,
talk about sexuality and we talk about gender, you are a trans man. That is your gender.
yep.
Sexuality, you are pansexual. That means
Yeah.
that you are attracted to certain people. And they try sometimes to blend these together as if it is the one thing. And I don't understand when people say that, when you say, you come out, like we've heard stories of people that come out as gay and their best bro friends are like, oh, don't try to date me or nothing. It's like, would you try to date every woman that walked by you? No.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you try to date every man that walked by you? No, because you have a type. You have somebody you like. You know what you're looking for. And so when people say this to me, it's just ignorance of an uneducation that I am just like everyone else. I just happen to be able to like a couple more people than you like.
Exactly. I think that that's a great way to put it. And I've had so many weird experiences where I thought I was in like safe spaces with people that would like get it.
Yeah.
And then I've been like, yeah, I'm bisexual. They just freaked out. They were like, oh my God, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to like live in the same house with you anymore. Like I've had that experience where, and I'm just like, it's not like I'm gonna, like, sneak into your room at night or something, like, it was
Yeah.
just, like, but that's where their minds would, like, go. They were like, I don't know, I've just had so many experiences.
Oh, yeah. You're like, I'm not a raper. Like, that's
Yeah.
like,
Calm down.
yeah.
Everything is fine.
I dated in 2018, 2019. In 2019, I dated this girl. We went on one date. It's great. We had a good time. The second date is when I said, hey, I just, let you know I'm bisexual. Like, just let you, hey, that's it. Like, we're out here dating and everything. Script flip. Holy shit. Because one of my close friends at the time, he was also bisexual. And she
Mm,
went on this tirade of how I'm dating him and I'm probably fucking him behind her back and I'm doing this with him or other guys or I'm doing that. And I was like, what
what?
the fuck is happening? I was so confused. I said I was more confused than I was at 12 years old kissing a boy. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening here? It didn't
Oh my
obviously
god.
work out at all.
Yeah.
After that moment, and I just was like so taken aback because it again was just like a clearly an education thing. She doesn't understand bisexuality. She doesn't understand
Mhm.
sexuality other than she sees it singularly as
Yeah.
man likes woman, woman likes man. I was like, that's, and my best friend, love him to death, not my type.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
in men, not my type. So it was just, oh, I get it. We all have these weird situations that we unfortunately we find ourselves in the queer community more than somebody in a heterosexual relationship or just cisgendered
Mm.
heterosexual.
100%. And I think, like you were saying, it's definitely can be a education.
So well, we talk, just like sexuality has it, but mental health is another big thing that obviously you seeing a therapist and a lot of your writing is done with based upon mental health, and
Mhm.
it's so important that we have somebody advocating for all of this in their writing. What kind of got you started writing in this perspective with mental health and sexual? Obviously, queer community kind of a little bit of a driving force, I would assume, right?
Mhm.
But mental health is something that not a lot of people write about, and we're starting to see more and more of it, especially in queer books. Period.
Yeah, I think for me, it actually started when I was like probably around like 8 or 9. I was a very sad, depressed child. I would write suicide notes and like hide them in my toy bins. And I was just like very sad. And a lot of it came from that feeling of not belonging and not knowing
Yeah.
who I was. And again, feeling so like isolated and alone. And I started writing poetry and, like, submitting it to, like, children's poetry books and stuff like that when I was pretty young, and
Okay.
then I've always kind of used writing as a way to deal with my mental health because, again, it was very much like the queer community in North Central Nebraska where I live, which is mental health didn't exist here.
Yeah.
Like, that was a phrase that nobody used. No one
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you need therapy." Like, that didn't exist.
Yeah. They've never met somebody like you with mental health, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. What are these things?
Yeah. So, what are thoughts that are bad?
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean we can overcome our depression?
Yeah.
But, it yeah, kind of followed me through my whole life, and when my dad died, I started writing Echoes of Us, so that was over, like, 15 years ago, I think now, as a way to deal with, like, the grief and all these feelings, and, I was having, like, really bad insomnia and everything, and so Echoes of Us has always been kind of this book that I've had with me that was really a look into my mental health, like, in mental health in general and dealing with loss and grief and love and,
Yeah.
how you manage that when it disappears suddenly. And then I think because mental health is so important to me, I like to incorporate it into all of my books in some way. And I do think it's a huge aspect of the queer community as well, because again, generalizing, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of queer folks deal with depression, anxiety, and need those mental health resources to kind of overcome and, well, not overcome, I don't want to use that word, to better handle or live with their depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've just always thought that it is more realistic in writing because, you read romance books that are all like sunshine and daisies and
Yeah.
everyone's so happy and in love. And I'm like, that's not reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you see a lot of mental health issues in the queer community a lot more because, like you've experienced, the constant thought of existing
Mm,
weighs heavily when you wake up every day. And that's the first thing in our minds is, am I going to wake up to somebody taking my rights away? Am I going to wake up to somebody trying to erase me or
yeah.
ensure that my ID says who I'm not? Or I can only go to a certain bathroom. I can't use bathrooms here. I can't do
Yeah.
bathrooms here. Unfortunately, and that's the reality of what we're doing right now and where we're at. So when you have this constant attack and even as a gay couple, right now, my husband and I, our biggest thing is the constant states trying to petition the Supreme Court for a Obergefell v. Hodges and to
Mhm.
petition the overturning of that. And, luckily, Idaho somehow failed that. So thank you, all the people who failed that.
Yeah.
But we are a part of just bigger than the G of the LGBT, right? We have you and you're part of our community, the trans community. You guys are constantly under attack this way, left, right, up, down. I mean, it's like a
Yeah.
bad Nintendo shortcut.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So,
Yeah, and I don't think people realize either, like, just the amount of, like, constant anxiety. Like,
yeah,
when I lived in North Carolina, I worked in an office and the office was great and everyone there was very lovely, but I had constant like bathroom anxiety because I was like, I'm going to use the women's restroom, I guess. And I would scare the shit out of all these like older ladies that would come in because they would see me and think that they were in the men's restroom.
yeah,
And they'd be like, "Oh my," and
yeah,
would freak out, and I'm like, "No, no, no, you're in the right restroom, like, I'm so
yeah,
sorry." And I had, like, a lot more facial hair going on and was presenting more, male at the time, and I, again, being a people pleaser, felt so bad because I was scaring these
yeah,
women,
yeah,
and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to do," and I
yeah,
need to use a restroom, and
sure,
so I started going we were on the 3rd floor, and I would go down to the basement and use the restroom in the basement because no one else used that one,
yeah.
and that was like, I was like, "I don't know how else to, like, make this work."
Yeah, and that's unfortunate that you're just trying to work that you're just trying to be an employee and get your shit
Yeah.
done.
I'm like, "I just gotta go to the bathroom, man." Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
or, like or traveling, like, going to, like, rest stops.
Again, I couldn't imagine the stressing anxiety of especially if you're traveling. I mean, let's be honest, if you're leaving anywhere in Nebraska, you're 5.5 hours from the closest possible purple city
Yep, yep.
ish. That's a big ish. And so even like trying to stop somewhere in between then and then, I couldn't imagine.
Terrifying. It's like there's a really great website that I think is called Refuge Restrooms,
Okay.
but you can put in, like, the location that you're like, the state you're in, and it will
Yeah.
show you, like, where there are, like, safe restrooms to use that are, like, all gender or, whatever, and I used to use that when I would travel just so I
Yeah.
was stopping in places that I felt, like, relatively safe.
Again, thinks more 99% of the country does not think about, trans people make up about 1% of the population of the United
Mm,
States. The fact that there is an app out there for you, first off, wonderful. And I love that. However, the fact that it exists is what
yeah.
it's like, why does something like this exist? Why are we this way?
Why do we
And
have to have yeah, why do we need this? But yeah,
yes,
the constant anxiety.
I,
It's
yeah, oh,
a
absolutely.
lot, which is why I'm
Well,
still in therapy.
yeah. Well, and I think therapy is good. I honestly think so many, there's a lot more people that could use some therapy. Some of them are making some dumbass decisions for everybody else right now. So
Yes.
there we go. Well, we brought you here talk about Echoes of Us. You said you hinted to it. It's been a work in progress
Mhm.
for what, 15 years, 10 years?
15 to 17, I think.
Yeah, quite a
It's
long time.
yeah.
Yeah. And so then this book started, the passing of your father kind of led you into this.
Mhm.
And, it's coming out soon. So we don't want to give anything too much away, but I would love to give you the opportunity. I want to talk about it because I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. So besides your father passing, what just is this book going to be about?
So Echoes of Us is a quiet apocalypse is the best way to describe it. It's a dark fiction thriller that follows it's very much it's a work of fiction, but it is very embedded in my own personal experiences.
Okay.
It takes place in a small rural town in Nebraska, follows a trans man.
We're checking boxes.
Yep. And, then the apocalypse happens, and it's a natural disaster, which is where the book starts, is right with the announcement of the disaster, so you're in it from the beginning.
Okay. Rip that band aid off. We're right there.
Yeah, you don't gotta, you
Yeah,
know, I drop you into it, and we're off to the races,
I love
but
it.
it's not like an action thriller, how you typically see apocalypse like movies and books, it's like all this action and the thrill of
Yeah.
surviving. This is really a look at like, "Okay, I've survived, now what?"
Oh,
And we're
okay.
following this character that has a lot of internal conflict, and they're morally gray and also an unreliable narrator, so you're not quite sure if you should trust them or not as
Yeah.
you're navigating this new world that they find themselves in, and like I said, it's very quiet and emotional and really focuses on, like, what's considered moral in the time of chaos.
Okay, so a lot to think about while you're reading the book.
And it definitely has a lot of trigger warnings.
Okay.
And I would say, like, if you're not in, like, a good place mentally, you may not wanna read it. You might wanna save it for later.
Okay.
Because it is pretty heavy, and especially with, like, what's going on in the world today, it might hit a little too close to home for some folks, so
Sure.
definitely check out the trigger warnings and
Do
go
you
from
put now do
there.
you have the trigger warnings in the like, prior to reading it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, have it right in the front of the book, and
Perfect.
we'll post them on socials and stuff, and probably put it in, like, the description on Amazon as well, just so folks know that what they're getting into.
So is this the main so is it narrated just based on one character? Does the narrator is the main character and we're in their head the whole through the whole book?
Yep,
Okay.
it's Adrian is the main character, and we do have a little bit of a love interest. I threw in a little bit of a love interest just to, like, mix it up a little
Hey,
bit.
there's love in post-apocalypse. You can't say
Yeah, you
there's
gotta
not.
survive.
Yeah, Wally found love.
That exactly. Oh, Wally.
Right?
But it's maybe my favorite thing that I've ever written
Really? Why do you say that?
because it is just so emotionally raw, and I don't know how other authors, like, feel about this, but, like, one of my main goals in writing is to like, I really wanna make people feel some shit. Like, I
Oh,
want there to be tears, I want there to be anger, like, I want to bring out the emotion, and I think this one is really gonna do that. Like, I think it's gonna devastate some people, and live for that.
And now you have 3 other books. You have a trilogy, the Falling
Mhm.
series, right? How does this book, Echoes of Us, differ from your Falling series?
Oh, man, it is so different.
Just you went like a 180 on it and
Yeah, like the fall series, so we have Fall into Midnight, Fall into Me, and We All Fall, and they are kind of more of your buddy cop. There's like a little comedy in there and mixed with some action. I'm like a huge like movie buff, so I like kind of compare my books to like some of my favorite action movies.
okay.
And like Fall into Midnight is very like Roadhouse, but
Oh,
gay.
okay, okay. Wasn't Roadhouse kind
Gayer.
of already gay? I was
Yeah. Gayer.
gayer.
But it follows a gender fluid bouncer that falls in love with a bookish ER doctor, and then there's, like, a vindictive ex that's mixed in with the mafia, and
Yeah.
you have your, like, sunshine characters, and it's very, like,
It's
fun, but dark.
okay. Yeah.
And that's kind of that series. There is also a lot of mental health rep through the fall series, but Echoes of Us is just less focused on like the romance. It's focused on relationships, but
Okay.
not like romantic ones. Well, it is, but it isn't. It's complicated.
It's yes. It's gonna leave us with the emotions.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was so Adrian, the main character, is that and you said there's a lot of you in this book. Is that how you saw yourself through this character?
100%. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the questions and the emotion and the doubt is definitely a lot of the feelings, a lot of things that I would ask myself as I was, like, growing up and pondering and, like, again, just, like, being alone and being like, "Oh my god, what is the point of this?" And so it's definitely a lot of myself poured into Echoes, which makes it, terrifying to put out into the world.
Why is what's so terrifying? I mean, is this more because 'cause you're being so raw about yourself and putting it out there?
Yeah, because there's so much of me in it,
Yeah.
and, like, my a lot of the descriptions of Adrian's childhood and the emotion behind that is my own experiences of from my childhood. Yeah, it's a lot of me in
It's a lot
there.
of you.
It almost reads as a memoir for the
Okay.
first part. I'd say for the first part of it, and then it gets more into the fictional world of Sandridge, Nebraska, which doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah. So was this because being so much of your experience in life and pouring that into this character and in this book over the last 15 to 17 years, has that putting it on paper, putting you on paper and writing it, has that helped your mental health? Has it been cathartic kind of in a way of reflecting back on your childhood and being able to write it out and that reflection of where you are now?
I definitely think so. I think especially when, like, my dad first passed, I was, again, 21, 22, and just being able to sit down and really be like, "Okay, what am I feeling right now? Like, what is happening? Like, what is, like, going on inside?" And I actually, like, wrote like, pen to paper the entire first draft of Echoes of Us in, like, a sketchbook that I had
Yeah.
in college and let it sit for 10 years before I picked it back up again. And then I think I was when I was going through therapy for the first time in 2018 when I picked it up again. So yeah, it was like 11 years between when I wrote it the first time and when I picked it up again. But it was always kind of there when I needed it the most, when I was going through like really heavy mental health stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. I don't know if I answered your question.
There's no rambling. This is my podcast. We talk about you can talk all day long.
I was like, "Wait, where am I going with this?"
No, no, that's wonderful. It's, it sounds like you had this almost as a safety net to fall back on in hard times and through the journey that you were of finding yourself, finding, especially if your father passes and whether you're close, I think whether people are close with their parents or not close with their parents, losing the loss of a parent, I couldn't imagine what that feels like. And that probably, especially in the journey that you have had through your queer journey and finding yourself, and then well, I'm trans, and just being able to have your memoir, essentially, Echoes of Us, to
Mhm.
fall back into, to pick up and, have a little bit of that cathartic moment. It sounds like writing is definitely your outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. I journal every day. And so, yeah, I think Echoes was in a way like that journal that allowed me to look back on everything up to the point that I was, which is what, or the point where I was, which is why I think it took me so long to write it, was because I wasn't quite ready to finish the story yet.
Yeah.
And then when I think now that I'm wholer, if that makes sense, like
Yeah.
now that I feel more whole in myself, it's allowed me to like wrap up Echoes of Us. Like I don't, maybe that's what, yeah, maybe I just don't feel like I need it as a crutch anymore as much
Yeah.
as I used to. So,
You
huh,
closing that
yeah,
chapter and
yeah,
giving it to us to enjoy now.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, it's come like full circle. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love I've reading queer artists and their perspective and just storytelling has been so wonderful. And now getting to talk to you about Echoes of Us, it sounds like it's going to be just another just raw emotional, moments.
Yes.
And it's definitely a different story. You don't hear a lot of post-apocalyptic just journey to find oneself throughout moments. And so this is going to be a wonderful book.
Yeah, I literally get goosebumps talking about it. I'm so freaking excited. And I do have to put a disclaimer out there. If you don't like endings that might leave you questioning, you may not want to read this book.
No, read it anyways. Take that back.
Read it
Read it
anyways.
anyways. Read it anyways, and then just close it and go, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah, just throw it across the room.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a what the fuck ending.
I'm here for it. I don't think every book needs the solid and they lived happily ever
Yeah,
after.
right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
having a good book is just being like, man, that fucking sucked.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really hoping to just make people pause and be like, holy shit. And then like think about some things.
There's a book. Oh God, it's a French book, and Molly Ringwald. It's her first ever French to English translation that she did, and I cannot
Mm.
remember the name of it right now. But it is from the. It's an author, but it is his perspective on his life as he reflects, talking to a journalist or like a interviewer,
Oh.
and he talks about how growing up in small town in France, he had this love, but they couldn't be together. And, he went off and became this world renowned author while the love interest stayed home in that small town, had a family, all this stuff, right? And it goes through this story, and the ending of it, tears, because it's not one of those where you're like, oh, it's going to be great. It's like as soon as the last chapter starts, and as soon as the last chapter starts, you see the ending. You can just
Oh, no.
feel the ending coming, and I was like, this fucking book. And it
You're, like,
was, yeah,
devastated.
I was, but it was so good. And I cannot remember the name. It's on my bookshelf right outside here, and it is an absolute. I'm going to email it to you. I'm going to
I was
say,
gonna say, "Yes, please. I need
yes,
to
I'm
read
going to
this."
email it to you. And it was, my husband got it for me for Christmas this year. And I think that was the first book I read right after Christmas into the New Year's. And I could not stop reading it. It was wonderful. And I was so intrigued because I'm like, Molly Ringwald, who knew she was a French girl?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's a
Oh,
wonderful book, and it's one of those that the last chapter starts, and it's a great book. Don't get me wrong, fantastic book, well wrote, but I was just so in tears by the end of it.
I love that. That's again, that's the kind of book I love. Like, I want to feel what I'm reading,
Yeah,
and so, yeah, you have to send that to me.
absolutely, I'm going to.
Oh,
Well,
awesome.
Arden, your book Echoes of Us coming out this summer. We're so excited for, but we gotta know, what does pride mean to you?
Ooh, great question. What does pride mean to me? I think, oh my gosh, I think pride to me means being, this is probably a boring answer.
No such
being,
thing. No
I'm
such thing.
like, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about pride is just being comfortable with, I don't know, being comfortable with yourself. But when I think about pride, I also really think about community and
Yeah,
building community and having like support systems and just surrounding yourself with people who are positive influences and there for you. And yeah, I think that's more what pride means to me than what I said at first, honestly,
yeah.
now that I think about it a little bit.
I love
Yeah,
it.
because I see pride as community,
Yeah.
so in a lot of different ways.
Have you built like a now coming from that small town, moving to the East Coast, coming back, have and being a queer writer, I mean, 4 books,
Mhm.
4th on the way. Have you built yourself a community? Is there like a gay writers guild? Are you guys like
Mm, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want there to be. If there isn't, there should be. Maybe I'll have to. I have like a couple of communities online that I manage, I guess. I've got a Facebook group. So I host virtual writing retreats as
Mhm.
well for indie authors, and they are primarily for queer indie authors, but allies welcome. But we have a Facebook group where we chat, we share information. I have another Facebook group called the Queer Culture Collective where we just share everything
Yeah.
that is queer and that we, books, movies, news articles, podcasts,
Yeah.
everything. And I also have a Patreon that has a little community. And I just started a school community for writers, which is still new. So I'm
Okay.
I'm constantly trying to build communities. It's really
Yeah.
important to me. And it's maybe one of the main things that I've always looked for in my life is community. So I think that's why it's so important to
Yeah.
try to build them.
I mean, coming from that small town, Nebraska, growing up, you didn't have that representation. It's like you
Mhm.
want to be that representation. You want to be that visible community
Yes.
person and show that even from here, we exist and we're there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put that. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Well, where can people find you, Arden? Well, we know your communities and we'll definitely link those, but where else can people find you?
I am chronically online, so you can connect with me on Instagram. It's just at Arden Coutts. My website is ardencouts.com. That's ARDENCOUTTS.com. And I also have a YouTube channel where I kind of record like a day in the life vlogs and stuff like that. And that's youtube.com/at wandering creative life.
I love it. Amazing. Well, we
Yes.
can't wait. Echoes of Us coming out this summer. Everybody pick it up.
Yes.
Post apocalyptic, gay, heart wrenching, raw, emotional. We're so excited and we're so happy to have you on the podcast, Arden. Thank you so much for joining us.
I had an absolute blast. So thank you so much for having me on the pod. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks for everyone listening to Everyone's a Little Queer. We'll see you next time.